Okay, about 2 years ago, I heard that G.I Joe and Transformers are having a crossover. Okay, at first, I disagree with this idea, but the more that I think about it, it was actually pretty creative for a movie film. Both of these Pacific franchises had something in common, and this is why I am making a today video. I have seen the G.I Joe movies recently, and I also watch a lot of Transformers films, so today I'm going to be comparing the first Transformers to the first G.I Joe. Well, it's still a copyrighted video, in case that you're thinking that I have forgot, and let's get this over with. Okay, the story in G.I Joe is that Duke has to get his ex-girlfriend out of mind control, but him and his friends end up meeting the G.I Joes and start working with them to stop Cobra Commander and his armies. Okay, well, I am new to G.I Joe, so I'm not sure it is a original story or not, but I do know it is the only story that they come up with. Well, Transformers, on the other hand, they got more what's going on than what meets the eye. All it does is tell an origin story of the Transformers, but although I do had my problems with the story, and that is the overall slow-paced 2 hours runtime they waste precious time out of. We don't get to see the Autobots until like an hour later, and the Decepticons doesn't show up until at the climax. Well, I don't mind the human characters, but in the first movie, I just can't stand them. When there's a scene where the Autobots go to Sam's house just to find the glasses, I was a bit confused. What was I'm watching? Well, even the main characters have to face some consequences. They just jokingly resolve that. Okay, it's good to have humor in your films, but Transformers is one of the most serious cartoon. Well, besides serious, it was many things, but comedy isn't one of them. So yeah, we just like to spend time with the characters joking around, and I really don't like that. Yeah, well, to be honest with you, both of these movies had some weak plots, but I found the plot to be better in Transformers, because despite the slow pacing issue, it was entertaining to start to finish, and that what makes this movie dang good on paper. But what about the characters in the movie? We have Duke, Scarlet, Ripcord, and Snake Eyes, who is basically a G.I. Joe Scorpion. For Transformers, we have Optimus, of course, Jazz, Ironhide, and Bumblebee, who is the main character along with Optimus. Okay, if it weren't for the jokiness, then the Autobots would have gotten an arc. Although Optimus had a character growth of risking his life just to protect the humans, and then his character growth just got completely ruined when Jazz get killed off.
I couldn't save him. Oh, Jazz. We lost a great comrade, but gained new ones.
Okay, WTF? Bro, Optimus is supposed to care about his own Autobots, his own family being lost. Like, we didn't see any grief of him a little bit. Okay, overall, both of these characters are good, but for me, I have to give this round to the G.I. Joe. Yeah, they have more character growth on these characters, at least. I mean, Scarlet learns to lose the fight, and she doesn't have to win all the time. Well, Snake Eye has a brotherly rivalry, which we will talk about later on. Well, Duke was able to get his girlfriend out of mind control. Yeah, they pay off the character arc a little better than Transformers. Well, besides the Autobots, the human characters doesn't really learn anything. They just go with the flow, and the ending of the movie does not have an impact of what the characters have went through. Well, Snake Eyes is my favorite character, along with Duke, and for a guy who hasn't seen G.I. Joe before, I never thought I would like the characters already. Well, Transformers has a better story, for sure, but the movie with a far more interesting characters is G.I. Joe. Okay, let's talk about the villains. The enemy of the G.I. Joe is Cobra Commander. Yeah, in this movie, Cobra Commander was not a big deal for me. There's no evil motivation of him, really. He just gives out evil lines, killed a bunch of people, and even mind control people. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but Cobra Commander was pretty forgettable. Well, he did got better for me, slightly, in the sequel, but that's besides the point. The villains in Transformers is Megatron, and he didn't even get enough screen time. Well, I can tell you that the Decepticons are not so hot either. Yeah, the Decepticons are just pretty easy to take out during the final battle. Yeah, the oppression of them are not very good. The humans were able to take them out easily, and even Bumblebee can easily take them out when he's in a wheelchair. Well, unlike the Decepticons, Cobra Commander's armies are much harder to take out, and they even give some of these heroes a run for their money. Okay, I gotta say, it was embarrassing that Megatron is the better main villain than Cobra Commander, even though he doesn't have much screen time. But it's also embarrassing that the G.I. Joe villains' armies are far superior than the Decepticons. Okay, now it's time for the action segment. Well, the action was pretty cool with the transforming effects, CGI stuff, and that was a huge challenge back in the 2000s, and I gotta say I'm impressed for that. But the climax battle can also be pretty dull. Okay, don't get me wrong, at times it could be fun to watch, but there's no impact of the overall fight scenes. It was just plain generic, and Bumblebee just got wasted during that fight. And like I said before, the Decepticons are just too easy to take out, and they even waste Jad for all that he done. I actually found the action in G.I. Joe to be better. Okay, I feel like you guys are going to hate me, but you have to hear my opinion anyway. The chase sequence was cool and fast, what it needs to be. The attack in the base scene was way better executed than the recent Mortal Kombat movie attack scene, which it is by the way weak. Okay, the only action scene that I don't like is the underwater climax part. I thought it was just too underwhelming, but the climax did got better for me when it ended tragically when Snake Eyes killed his brother. Like Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow are like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, well except it is more personal, and that hit me hard. It reminded me of how Dante killed his brother in Devil May Cry 3, and even though you hated that villain, you can feel bad for him. And it teaches you a lesson not to fight with your siblings. Well, it's way better than how they defeat Megatron. I really don't like when Megatron just got easily killed off by the Allspark. I thought it was a disrespectful way to defeat him. It felt pretty cheaper than how Ultron gets defeated and how Liu Kang was able to kill Shao Kahn with one blow, which that pisses me off. So yeah, not only they have no respect for the characters, they also don't have respect for the action in their own way. And that was a shame. The action in G.I. Joe is overall expiring, fast-paced, and believable. So, G.I. Joe deserved to win this round for sure. Well, the first Transformers from 2007 to me was mid at best. Well, although the Transformers films did got better for me with the sequel movies, and the funny thing is that Dark of the Moon could have been the first Transformers movie. Well, if I have to put it that way, I would rather forget about the scene where they have a freaking clown in the background. Like seriously, that part just got me nightmares as a kid, and I don't like that. Well, I did not expect myself to be impressed with G.I. Joe, but surprisingly, I did when I first watched it. Okay, well, it is not a great movie either, but it makes me even more excited for the Transformers in G.I. Joe crossover, which I hope it doesn't disappoint. Okay, both of these movies aren't masterpieces, but Transformers 1 was the true cartoon figures movie that totally kicked both of these movies' butts. So yeah, G.I. Joe and Transformers on paper perform pretty great, but there's never a time that I thought it was perfect. Well, although I am not a fan of the year 2007, but at least there's something that I can enjoy from this year, which is Transformers, and I can't end the movie without giving a score. Okay, G.I. Joe gets a 6 out of 10, and Transformers gets a standard 6 out of 10. Okay, despite the scores being the same, I prefer Transformers for obvious reasons. Well, you guys know what to do, and I will see you guys next time.